It's not like there is no social policy in Africa. Definitely there is social policy. I think the question is, a country that is, or sorry, a continent that is in full development, does it stay at a standstill, or does it begin to think of ways and means of reforming what is already existing? It is from that perspective that I felt, well, we shouldn't be left alone in this whole process of innovation, transformation, and all of that. And then I began to look at what do we have at the moment in place in Africa as a social policy, and how could we, as a continent, begin to review all that we have that need to be reviewed so that it becomes fit for purpose, that Africa's social policy becomes people-focused, which I doubt is the case at this moment. So it was all of this thought, and of course combined with my current activities as a politician here in Belgium and elected councillor for social affairs back in Ostend City Council, expanding my networks and learning some useful lessons. I began also to think of how could we take some of these lessons, back to Africa. This summit has managed to identify the issue, which is that there is no scarcity of legislations, of treaties, and so on and so forth, that will provide the right framework for Africa social policy. The problem is that those legislations, those treaties, those international conventions are not being implemented. So when we talk about reform of Africa social policy, we are essentially talking about reforming the process of trickling down these conventions so that they make meaning to the Africans themselves, for whom they were made in the first place. Now, how do we want to do this? We want to, because we're based here in Europe, we want to start working with the embassies, because the embassies are the mouth and eyes of the different countries here. So the several embassies that have been invited, who have made their presentations, will begin to look from this moment on how we can begin to work together to ensure that these legislations, these treaties and the international conventions are actually implemented in the countries where they are supposed to be implemented. Some of them, of course, need to be adjusted, to fit the moment, the current, situations. Well, you talked about the nationals of the different countries. I mean, I come from a diaspora background. I mean, I've spent the last 10 years, being active in, developing a robust Nigerian diaspora movement globally, okay? So I understand the vital role that they play, but you see, I do not think that the Africa Social Policy Reform Summit will be dealing with the individual diaspora. Rather, we'll be dealing with the organized groups. For example, you have the Kenyan diaspora, you have the East African diaspora group, the Nigerian diaspora, Ghanaians, and so on and so forth. So we'll be dealing with the leadership of those organized groups. Of course, our activities remain open for the individuals to attend. But you see, we have consciously decided that we will be targeting the individuals who are either practicing, social workers, policy makers, policy advisors that actually have something tangible to contribute, because the time has come when the talk shops have got to be over. Absolutely. The NGOs are, the engines of the civil society. Now, we want to feel their pulse. We want to know what they know, and we want them to open doors for us that we can't open, and vice versa. On that basis, we will indeed be working with the NGOs, and there are quite a few of them represented at this pre-summit. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. As a matter of fact, there were two IT specialists who had actually developed some innovative thoughts on how the IT could be used to drive Africa social policy. They contributed papers, two of them, to this summit. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it in person. Yes, the private sector and also the organized private sector, the institutions and bodies that represent them are potential partners in this endeavor. I simply want to say that this process is all about pragmatism. What exactly can be done beyond, the dry policy issues, beyond the talk shops. Now, you would observe that towards the end of the conference, the presenters actually migrated from pure theory to very practical steps. I mean, a lot could be done, okay? A lot more could be done in terms of the practical steps that need to be taken to get us to where we need to be. We want to make the difference by concentrating on that and moving away from the academic, intellectual discourse. It's part of it because it fits into the system, and we need those academic theoretical backgrounds to be able, to get it right. But it's not going to be heavy on theory and intellectuals or academics, but more on practical steps on reforming the Africa social policy.